This Roe versus Wade and this whole abortion chaos that we are hearing. It's strange because you wouldn't imagine this kind of a discussion in any developed country in the world. I mean, it wouldn't even be a discussion. So it's strange, yeah. I saw people sharing comments, tweets, clips. Right. I saw some people celebrating it because they felt this is somehow Islamic. America is a strange country, isn't it? It truly ought not to be one country. But then the problem would be if it wasn't one country, they would just be bombing the hell out of each other. So its survival had to be one unified country. But it's so bizarre how radically different and diverse the polarized ends of the great United States is. It's just wow. I feel in some way, not in a, I'm not trying to say this in a, like an apocalyptic sense or anything like that, but I feel that we are witnessing the beginning, or maybe we have been for a little while now, of the disillusion of the great United States. And what I mean by that is as the self, the great, the huge entity, super entity that it was. It's the world has kind of shifted from that unipolar being, this kind of sun around which the globe orbited. It's it's moved away to to multiple polarities. I feel it's no longer. I mean, even just many things. The Russian war is clearly a an indication of that, and even things like this abortion kind of chaos that is going on. So it's bizarre. You see, to me, it makes no sense to celebrate this, the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I don't see how that is anyhow something to be celebrated. I feel it's quite bizarre. Reason being that, look, this. So, from an Islamic perspective, first of all, because a lot of people I saw brought Islam into this to rejoice and celebrate. Now, even though there are, because from what I understand, the ruling now has denied a fundamental right to abortion and has left it to the states to determine. From what I've read, if I recall correctly, I think 26 states moving to ban abortion in its entirety, including, or what's suggested is in every single manifestation of that, be it whatever, be it rape, be it incestuous, be it you name it, whatever it be, and at any point in the pregnancy, from the day after right up until. So, okay, I mean, that is. So, from an Islamic perspective, I understand that some scholars in Islam traditionally, and they've usually Shafi'i scholars had found their view is aligned with some of the Catholic Church view that really at conception life begins, and therefore some people attribute that to, I believe, even Imam Ghazali, but I've heard it being challenged that that wasn't his view. But definitely the Shafi'iyya, some of them, that conception happens the moment, the moment conception happens, it is a sacred life and it is haram to have abortion. And that um, is the view of some Shafi'i scholars, I believe. But this view is such a minority fringe view in Islam, such a minority view that, and I feel today that maybe maybe the Salafi view as well today. So, and it is the view of the Catholic Church and the view of Christianity, or much of Christianity, especially the evangelics. So, but most of, if you look at Islamic fiqh, you will have at least two entire madhabs, the Hanbali madhab, which says that ensoulment, that we don't consider the same, obviously the fetus is alive, but it doesn't have that sanctity of a born human up until 120 days. And that is the view also of the Hanafi madhab. So these are two entire madhabs of the madhabs of Islam. Now, and then the Malikiya are in between them, some saying 40 days, some disputing it. So this is the vast majority of the scholars of Islam did not believe that conception resulted in the sacredness of life in that sense, that like a human being, they believed that the sacredness, the sanctity of life only emerges with the ruh. And they disagreed whether the ruh comes on the 40th day or the 120th day because of the hadith. So that's where the majority of the ulama lies. So the stats, from what I'm aware, show that in the United States, I think 90 plus percent of all abortions take place under 120 days. So that's, I believe, the stats that over 90%, I think 90, I can't remember, 91 or 90 something percent of all abortions that take place in the United States are under that 120-day period. So they usually, within the first 2 months, or maybe stretching it to 3 months, but they're not usually beyond, and definitely not beyond 120 days. So Islamic fiqh for hundreds and hundreds of years has seen that kind of dispensation. Now, this isn't to belittle life. Like, nobody, see, you have to understand things, that nobody is saying abortion is a great thing that everybody should go and do. I don't think people in their right mind would ever speak like this, and Muslim scholars have definitely not spoken like that. But there's reasons why people take an abortion. They don't just take an abortion for fun. It's like somebody, I remember once discussing divorce. It's the same thing. People say, oh, well, if it was like this, then a person would just go get a divorce. But nobody does these things for fun. Nobody thinks, I know, I'll just go get an abortion. There is a problem, a crisis, a situation going on, and it is subjective. Sometimes it's objective, clearly, like the mother's life could be in danger. So let's say the mother's life is in danger, then the scholars generally agree that the child can be aborted up until the very end to save the life of the mother. So her life is paramount in Islam, above the life of the child. So that's a situation where there's no time limit. And then there's other subjective reasons. And people say, well, is family planning the same as fearing poverty or fearing. You see, there's a difference because the Quran addresses um, people who would kill, and they would usually kill their daughters in Jahiliyyah time, and they would say khashyata imlaq. Now, imlaq, this kind of impoverished state, it wasn't just khashyata faqar. Faqar is like poverty. It was more than that because the Arabs then had this understanding that they had this, which was a sick, diseased understanding that they saw the daughters as burdensome because the society was a raiding warrior kind of society. So they were just laden with, so to speak, mouths to feed and to defend. And if they had, let's say, many sons, then they could go and fight and they could raid other tribes and they could do stuff. So when they say these were just mouths to feed, it wasn't that they saw them as, oh, they're going, that was the main reason that food, because they would have had to feed their boys as well. It wasn't poverty in that sense. It wasn't faqr. The word faqr isn't used, it's imlaq in the Quran, which is this kind of burdened, impoverished state. But it's not simply about food. It's about, well, they're seeing themselves, oh, I'm going to grow old and I've just got these daughters with me. And, we become victims and we can't really go and fight and raid. And I just have to always keep defending them. And up until how long can I defend them? And, if I had more sons, then they could defend. And so this is where they would go and kill. And this was not the same as abortion. They would kill a living child, like a child that's an infant. So, yeah, so it's really a weak analogy. I get it, there's some approximation you could make, but it's not the same. So, yeah, the other thing I was going to say, and that's it really, and then I'll leave this discussion, is that you see, for the Americans, they have a way of life. They have a way of life, just as the West has a way of life. And it has a way of life that people feel that they can choose for themselves. Now, Imam Malik in the Mudawwana, he is asked that those of you that know about the Zoroastrians, the Majus, Imam Malik is asked about them that they one of the popular marriages that they had was incestuous. So they would brother and sister and father and daughter or mother and son. And this is what they had, that nikah al-akhawat wa nikah al-ummahat. It was known. It's still, if you Google it, it was part of the ancient custom. It's a very well known, one of the popular marriages that they had. So Imam Malik is asked that under those regions where we as Muslims have power over them, that should we forcibly prevent these incestuous marriages? He's asked in the Mudawwana, and you can check this. This is Imam Malik's fatwa. Imam Malik's, that he's asked, should we intervene? Should we intercept these marriages? And he says, La, no. He says it is their way of life. If they do it, it's their way of life. We do not get involved. And he says that Allah has condoned shirk, which he has condoned for people on earth to worship other gods, as in he's condoned that you can't, if a person is a mushrik, you cannot force them to abandon their shirk. Even if they're under your control, you can't forcibly stop somebody from worshipping someone. So if Allah allows and disallows force towards worship and devotion. So Imam Malik said, so what do you think about, and that is, he said, a'zam, much greater than practices. That so this ruling with Imam Malik, who is a huge authority in his day and age, he refuses that Muslims intervene forcibly and prevent these marriages, that these have to be choices they make if it's their way of life. To the Americans, that is their way of life. The Americans are not, practicing according to the fiqh. And if they were, which fiqh? Which they're not. So their way of life is they have liberty. So generally, our understanding is always, look, if that's their way of life, that's their way of life. And people should have individual ownership. So people should, if they choose to make a decision, they bear the responsibility. There has to be that kind of freedom. So that's the thing. The other thing, and I'll make this note. This is a skeptic in me. Okay. I find it very difficult to believe. Very difficult. This is for me a tough sell. Sorry, but I'm just speaking my thoughts. Okay. That powerful, wealthy, rich men that live in America, regardless of their faith, are against abortion. I find that really difficult to buy. That, you see, because these powerful tycoons are sleeping around endlessly. They do not want any of the women that they're sleeping with. They must be on endless streams of sexual pursuit. They do not want those women, because these kind of one night stands and all these women to be having their babies, and claim their money. Never want that. I find it very difficult to believe that these men, be they Republican, be they whoever, if they are wealthy, these old, rich, many of whom white men, and this is not about them being white, but I'm taking a stereotype here. They want and are against aborting a child. And that too, because they feel God is going to be happy. That's a tough sell. Sure, even if they believe in God, I find that difficult. I'll tell you now, I've read somewhere, now I'm not saying this is the cause, but it seems more plausible. So let's say that's a case. We weigh that in a scale. Reason these rich, powerful, wealthy, Republican white men, old men, want to outlaw abortion is one. Okay, I accept this one. One is to take a sting at the Democrats. I accept that. That may be a very plausible reason. But the main reason is because they are religious to God. Never. That's such a tough sell for me. Okay, but let's put that on the scale. Now, I read somewhere, what about the thought that what the statistics say, that by 2050, white Caucasian people will become a minority in America? Now, that's what the sociological stats are saying, because at the rate of reproduction with Hispanics and Afro-Caribbean or African American, people, that the white Caucasian population will become a minority within the United States by 2050, which isn't that far away. Now, if white women were not allowed to abort their children, that may result in a much larger white population. Now, this seems very conspiratorial, but as a balance of probability, I don't know, maybe there's an entirely different reason to why these people are simply voting for that. The people the wealthy movers and shakers, I don't mean the people on the ground. They don't really count. Nobody really cares about their opinion. The movers and shakers I would feel that that preponderates more, is given the nature of American societies as we know them, and the way sometimes there is this insecurity, a racial insecurity that is so deeply, it's so visceral with certain people in certain, especially, I mean, it's evident. I mean, you get these, you've got so many kind of documentaries and stuff. So to me, that seems more like I would find that more of an, like I would buy that more easily than I would buy the fact that they're doing this because they want to please God. Rich, wealthy old men wanting to please God over abortion. That's a tough sell. They would be so pro-abortion because of the amount of one-night stands, and they would be very casual. I feel sure it could be to appease politics and to take a dig at the Democrats. That part is sustained. I take that that is a valid point. I'm sure that that is a percentage of why this is happening. But I would think, is it really Leviticus, Deuteronomy? Is it really the Bible? Is it really, or is it something, some racial insecurity? I don't know, but I would be more inclined to thinking, well, this probably holds more weight. Allahu A'lam. Not saying this is the reason, but I sure, if I was to just take a pick out of these two, I would probably put my money on this, then think that. Because I don't believe these people anything. Is God seldom comes into the equation. But that's my thoughts. So, and I could be wrong, but we could all be wrong. But I don't know. But I would like to get a discussion on this on Mind Trap. That would be fascinating. Right. Let's move on. So once again, don't shoot me, people. This is just a thought. I'm not saying it is that, but it seems that I could see how that could cause a scare. If you tell a people who feel very proud and are already insecure. American people are not American people as all American people, but the state is an insecure state because it's not been around that long, right? So when you tell a people that they will become a minority amongst other races within a few decades, that's all. That means within your lifetime, within our lifetime, we will witness this becoming a minority. That's like imagine that was to happen in England. I can imagine the people would just go mad. Like I can see that you see these fears are much deeper than you think. They're not People are not so rational. When they start getting when these kind of scares become real, how do you think scaring people about immigration and refugees and all that works? It works just because tapping into these fears of, oh my god, they're going to steal your jobs, they're going to do this, anybody. It happens with everyone. This isn't just about white people. It could happen with any country. You take any race, any ethnicity. It's basic psychology. You can tap into the identitarian kind of visceral entities and just shake it, and you'll see what will happen. People freak out. I mean, look at the Nazi thing was exactly that. But it's just people just freak out. They don't. But yeah. Well, let's move on.